Well, Dylan Gemelli, thanks for joining, man.
Dude, it's always a pleasure to get to talk to you, even if it's a few minutes, but especially longer.
And I love learning that you have the number one podcast in health right now on Apple and the number 3 overall trending podcast on Spotify. It's amazing, man. How's that journey been?
I don't even know. I got chills with you saying that because sometimes it's like you can't even believe it's a reality. But at the same time, you know what's cool about like going through things and evolving as a person is if you would have asked me that maybe 10 years ago, I would have been in my head. I wouldn't have said it out loud, but in my head, just, man, you're the man. Like telling myself, you're the man, you're the man. And I'm so like just full of gratitude. And I just sit here and say to myself, man, you are just the most blessed individual. And I'm so rich in God that I don't know, man. What it does tell me is that something I'm doing is resonating, and that is what I care about the most. Of course, I want the platform and the numbers, but I want what I have to say and the way that I make an impact. I want that to be what I'm remembered for at this point. Now, that's what I want. That's why I'm here, and that's why I do what I do, is because I know that somehow, some way, with the faces I see when I say stuff and the places that I get to go and the reactions I get, that something I'm doing is resonating. And that's what I'm here for, man.
All right, what caused that switch in the last 10 years?
Becoming a God first person is where it started. When I got away from Dylan this, Dylan that, and I made it about everybody else around me. It wasn't being a slave to shit, always wanting to buy everything and be the man and have this. I don't worry about any of that anymore. I don't care. Because the man is what makes everything, not the stuff, right? That stuff, I like to dress nice and I like to look nice, but it's because I want to be a pro. It's not because I care about what anybody says anymore. I don't care. It doesn't do. When I wake up in the morning, am I worried about what Joe.727 said online about my clothes or how I look? Either way, I don't care. I don't care. I care about somebody looking at me and saying, man, you changed my life, or man, that thing you said, what it did for me or my kid or my wife or my family member, that's what I care about. So, man, that makes me go because I get those kind of messages every day now. So it's fulfilling to the highest extent. And that's why I work.
Well, I love that. It sounds like you've found faith guided you, and also realizing that most things are just temporally limited. I remember one of the books that has had a huge impact on me was called The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. Ever read it? Well, the whole premise of the book is basically all suffering comes from failing to recognize that everything in this life is limited in time, right? If you become attached to the clothing you're wearing, then you will feel pain when it eventually does go away. If you become attached to anything material, in time, that will just cause suffering. At least it's the premise of the book. Though you might really enjoy driving that Ferrari while you're driving it, okay? But at some point, the idea is that the attachment material thing is also not going to be fulfilling. There's nothing really fulfillment coming. And it sounds to me like you kind of became a little more Tibetan Buddhist in the last 10 years.
When I first really made a lot of money, like real money, I remember first telling my wife, is this real? Is this real? But then it became I bought the whole Gucci store out. I bought every piece of luggage. I bought all of this stuff. And then it became, I got 2 or 3 cars. And then it was, I've got to have all of these shoes. I got to have all this. And I'd go to bed at night all the time. And I'd see beautiful wife, beautiful house. Sometimes I'd go in the garage to see that the cars were really there. And I felt incomplete and I felt sad. And I was like, why the hell, when I thought I had everything I ever wanted, why do I feel empty? Because that's what it felt like. And I couldn't figure out. And sometimes I'd stare at her and I'd just sit there and I'm like, what is it? What do I need? What do I want? And I keep buying things. And it just felt worse and worse. And stuff would just sit there. And we were on vacation in Florida one time, and I was sitting out alone listening to music like 2 something in the morning. And I was out on the patio, and I was looking up, and something just was like screaming at me. And I was like, is it God, trying to tell me something? And it wasn't, that was the moment where I knew something, but it wasn't like it clicked right then. It took a few more months of me just like putting myself to it, like trying to listen. And because listening's hard, man. Listening's hard. You think it's easy. It's not. It's really not. And listening to like spirit and God around you. And when it clicked, that's when the transition started. And it has been a rough journey because it's trying to figure it out. And I've come to the conclusion this was all training to get me ready for what I'm doing now. It was learning, it was enduring, and then learning how to embrace what I had to endure as not something of woe is me, but man, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be ready now for what I'm able to tackle. Man, if I didn't go through that, I would never be where I'm at right now. And then using it as fuel. Now I've learned how to not have fear, but to embrace it. And I've even told myself, you know what? You need tested a little bit. You need to, that's what's happened to me. You need to test yourself a little bit. Don't be scared. You can handle anything. Dude, I've been to prison, slept with murderers and rats, and lost everything I've ever had. I can handle anything. Trust me. But you forget that. Sometimes you got to have a reminder or remind yourself. And listen, I'm not saying I want to go through stuff all the time. That's not what I'm saying. But sometimes it's quite good to go through a little challenge or have to tackle some things and learn how to not get angry, to not give up, to not have this woe is me mentality, because you can. But if you never got tested, or if you didn't face an adversary that kind of gave you a tough time in the courtroom or an argument wise, how would you stay sharp? You wouldn't. You'd never be sharp because everything would come easy. And then one day somebody'd come better than you, because it's going to happen, and you wouldn't know what to do. You'd fold. But because you've been challenged and you can stand up to it, why are you able to hold your own? Because you can, because you're battle tested. I'm battle tested, but it took me a long time to realize what I had. Now I'm able to embrace it better. I'm not perfect. I have struggles like any other human, but I realize I am human. And so I'm able to handle it better now than I ever have.
Yeah, my dad always said to me, rich is the man who's happy with his lot. And it's really true. And I also think that, to your point, you've got to find more than just the physical to have meaning, right? You've got to find something that nourishes the soul. And that means different things to different people, but you have to find something that nourishes the soul. And because if all you're focused on is certain material, this world achievements, so to speak, it makes me think of a Michael Crichton. I think the name of the book is Journeys, and he wrote the Jurassic Park and all those different. He had these dreams, and he writes his autobiography. He wrote an autobiography where essentially he talks about how he had all these dreams. He wanted to be a best-selling author, and he wanted to have a giant motion picture, and he finally did all those things. He accomplished them, and he says he was on a private jet, and Jurassic Park had just like made it huge in the theater, and they just got the numbers back. And it should have been the happiest moment of his life. And he said he's never felt more depressed in his whole life than in that moment. That's what he writes. And he then from there went on this journey where he sought out gurus and like mushroom trips and all this stuff, right? If I'm remembering, I read, this is like, I'm going back like over 20 years ago when I read his book. But that also stuck with me. It actually connected back with the other book I just told you about, Tobacco, Living and Dying. And those ideas fused for me, as along with, various religious principles. And there's a lot of different connections there where, here's a man who chased these things. The journey made him happy. And so the journey can make you happy. But you also, like you're saying, you don't lose sight along the way of what's important. Because if you do, and all you focus on is these accomplishments that are temporally related, and some might say, well, what's not temporally related? Well, doing good deeds is not temporally related because those resonate forever. Those are things that nourish the soul, in my view. Taking care of your family, raising the next generation. Those outlive you in many ways in this world. And so, I'll recommend those two books to you.
You read
but
so many
but it
damn books.
sounds like you are reflecting those same principles from those. Yeah.
I spent I don't know, man, 20 some odd years so focused on the fitness side of things, like fixing your ability to train properly, your nutrition. And I spent my entire life's work on that. And then the past like year and a half, I've learned and understood and started to study neuroscience and understood that it's a mind and body connection. Now, I always will say, and that's fine if you don't agree with this, people, but I start it with the spirit first and then I connect it to the mind and the body. So I personally feel it requires some sort of connection with God. And if you're not there, some sort of interpersonal connection where you have an innate ability to focus on breath, to focus on meditation. So let's start there. And then it comes down and we have a tree and it's mind and body. Now, one would argue, well, you got to train, you got to work out. Of course, I'm a freaking workout freak and I've studied nutrition. I'm a certified nutritionist 15 years. Your mind controls everything. So I can fix your hormones. I can teach you how to train. I can teach you how to eat. But if you're off here and your nervous system's deregulated, you don't have a real value of life. You don't have gratitude and you don't have a good core, like really resonance with your surroundings. I can't fix you. You have to start here. This is in control of everything. If you have mental stress, anguish, all of these problems that are, feeding negativity, I can't really get you right with your diet and training because you're never going to be right systemically internally. It doesn't matter what I do. So I learned that the answers really have to start within and then they branch out into that. Of course, that's important. Of course, you need to train and eat well, but it's all for naught if we don't get you emotionally right. And I'm not talking about putting you on 80,000 sedatives and pills and anything else. I'm talking about like soul surgery, like fixing yourself. And it really starts with being like having gratitude and being grateful. And a lot of people don't understand that. That is one of the key components to like physical, mental, emotional health. If you don't have gratitude inside of you, that's when you see all this negativity and people that are highly inflamed and like aren't sleeping well and super stressed because they don't have gratitude or love in their hearts. You, me, and every other human, when we were made and created, it was through love, and we're designed to love. Animals, everything is designed to love. Some people just don't find it. They have hardened hearts. But when you have it and when it's released, my friends, that's when you're the healthiest. That's where it starts. And when I can fix that, the other stuff's easy. The stuff you think is hard, the training, the eating and all that, that's second nature once you have the right mindset. But I've learned that now and I embrace it because I had to fix myself to teach it to others.
Well, let me see if I can encapsulate that in the way that I've lived that experience that you just described.
Please.
You tell me if I've captured this, which is that you've got to have a positive attitude about things. First of all, I mean, there's endless studies that reflect that those who have a positive mindset are actually have less health issues. That alone can have an impact overall. Also, what you think will happen to what you focus on often manifests. I'm going to bring up another book. I don't know. I mean, this. If anybody's not watched, they're like, "Man, this dude only just brings up books." But no, it just happens to make sense in this particular conversation. This one I read when I was like in high school. It's called "The Power of the Subconscious Mind." That's literally the title, and it's got a series of actually studies where they had people manifest in their own mind what they wanted to accomplish and they versus others, or they believed it or certain. And then it gave also examples of certain cultures that have certain cultural beliefs. And because of those cultural beliefs, like talk about the Australian Aborigines, they actually manifest things in reality because they have these deep-seated beliefs. And that alone can create. And so what you believe deep down can really impact your own reality and your health. So that's one thing, meaning it's happening what I would call subconsciously. by the fact that you're having these, positivity and to be really positive, I think it goes back to you have to find something of real meaning, something soulful. Separately is that there's a practical component too, which is that if you're not in a good mood and you're not in a good mindset, you're just gonna be like, I'm not working out today. I don't care. Give me that extra I'm gonna eat the junk food. I'm not doing the red light. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this stuff. And so then you fall off track and that takes you deeper down. So it's kind of like both of those things. I don't know. You tell me if that matches what you were saying.
Dude, it's 100%. It will always go back to what you're feeling and where your mind is. You know, how many people ask me, how do you keep going? Like, how do you do this every single day? Because man, I'm trying to fix this. I'm just like all gas, no brakes. And I'm trying to, that's not a good thing either because you can overkill. But I'm so excited to do what I do. And I'm like, I'm on business calls every day. And Queenie's like, what calls do you have today? You know, like before we record and do stuff. And one company I was with was like, how do you do this? What is guiding you and what is telling you? I said, literally, Holy Spirit. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have a good answer. People ask me, what's my secret? I'm like, my secret is I listen to what God's telling me to do, which is this is my purpose. And I found it. And because I found it, I'm excited every day because I know that what I'm doing is what I was meant to do. Everybody's got something that they're meant to do differently. We were having this conversation this morning. Everybody's got something special. Some of it's like surface level where everybody sees it, and some of it's behind the scenes. But every single person, it's like the team. There's always somebody that if you don't have that specialty on that team, you're never going to win. The teams that are the best teams don't always have the best players or the most talent, but they got the people that fill the roles. Everybody's got a role. Some may be bigger on the surface than other, but without the other ones, you're not going to accomplish it. You're not. And so I think sometimes people either don't listen, don't look hard enough, or just don't care and have that like inner understanding of what they're being called to do. But man, when you figure it out, dude, the world, you just can't force it. It's like when you're younger and you're trying to force girlfriends or something, or force this or whatever, it never works. Or you know in the back of your mind you shouldn't do this, but you force it anywhere, convince yourself, and it always backfires and bombs. When you really listen and you figure it out, that's when you can just roll. But you have to have the ability to listen, and it's just not. It's not like me listening to you talk to me. It's a deeper listening.
You mean listen to your own voice, to yourself, to what it is where your passions are, what you love, what's motivating you. I completely agree, and really being attuned to it, because a lot of folks just focus on, well, I just want to make money, I just want to have fame, they think about the end. They think about where they, what they want. They don't think about the journey. What would they love to do? What would they like to do? And that is critical. When I'm, that's pretty much the number one hiring criteria in my book, which which is the person who has to at least really like what they're. There's some jobs hard to find love for it. Okay, but you got to at least really like what you're doing. Because if you really like what you're doing, it's not like you go to work every day and you're excited. You love what you do. I mean, it bleeds off of you. So yeah, you're excited about it, and you could do it 20 hours a day because it's like work. It's something you enjoy doing. And I think that is a critical ingredient. I mean, I hope everybody can find that. That's what I tell my kids. I said, look, just figure out what you really love to do. Ideally, love, passion. Or at least really like to do, because if you do that, one, you won't work a day in your life, really. And even if it's something that's, you don't have to worry about the money. If you love what you do and you're passionate about it and you're the best at it, or you become really good at it, I said, you'll find a way to make money.
It'll come.
And then going all the way back to before, rich is the man who's happy with their lot. Would you rather have this much money and go work every day and spend 9 hours a day doing what you're passionate about, or have that much money and be freaking miserable every day? I mean, that's, and anybody who's focused on making a lot of money and doing something they hate, I don't think they usually ever get there.
I have turned
They burn out.
Yeah, I've turned down.
I see that with lawyers all the time.
Well, it's you you can't do something that you don't like. It's like promoting products I don't use, or, being involved with people I don't want to be around. I can't do it. I've turned down huge money that would, sometimes I'm
There
like,
it is.
shit, like.
But people think, oh, if it's enough money, I'll do it. But at the end of the day, I think they won't. They'll walk away.
No, it's easier said than done. And I've taken jobs and things in the past where I've been like, man, I can't do this. I got to figure, I can't do this. It takes away from everything that you're meant to do. And when you force stuff, it will come back tenfold, and not in the way you want it to. You will, look, I have made more money trying the least that I ever have than when I tried so hard and couldn't figure out why it wasn't coming. When I tried the least, I made the most. Funny how that works, right?
Or you did what you were passionate about, what you love to do, and you invested in it.
Yes.
Then you ended up, quote unquote, working smarter, not harder, but really you were liking what you were doing. You're passionate about it. Maybe it just didn't feel like you were working as much, but you might be working a lot. I'm going to ask your wife how much you work. I bet she says you work a lot. But it doesn't feel like a lot because you love what you do. I'll give you a quick example. When I left law school, I clerked for a year, and then I went to work for one of the, I think, the third biggest firm in the country by size, one of the prestigious law firm, blah, blah, blah. I think it was 60 of us that started there, Harvard, blah, 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 top law schools. By the time I left, about almost 5 to 6 years later, there were only 6 of us left out of this, I think, the 60 that started. Now, many of them got fired along the way. It's what big firms do. But many of them just left. They because it didn't matter that there was this pot of gold at the end of the make partner rainbow. They weren't going to do it. I eventually left I left because my wife it was like, hey, look, I don't see you anymore. So, it was quality of life, right? Kind of thing. Even though I did like what I did. I like litigating, but yeah.
Good at it.
What's that?
You're good at it.
I enjoy it.
That's why you're good at it. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Of everything that we have, everything that you own, every 401k, everything you've invested in, anything you can think of, what is the most valuable of anything that we have? Material or immaterial? I'm curious to what you would say, and I'll tell you what the answer is that I have through my experience, that it took me a long time to realize.
The immediate answer that came into my head without thinking, my family. Immediate. I mean, is there a different answer?
There's a different answer.
There's a different.
That's a great answer.
I assume there's a different answer. But so let me just think about the exact wording of your question so you said, putting aside all material things.
Any asset, anything you can think of, what is the most valuable to you? And I'll explain why this correlates to your family, which is going to branch off into that, because it does. It's time. Because you cannot get it back. When it's gone, but you can extend it. See, I've been telling everybody since I went to prison that I lost time, that you can't get it back and you can't recreate it. But I will tell you what I just learned recently is that you can expand it by how you use it. So when I get to spend hours with my grandson, or get to hear him tell me he loves me, or get my wife to just say thank you for spending this extra minutes with me, or the moments where we get to lay and listen to music, or just do something that seems nonsensical or whatever, and it's the best moment of my life, or go to Costco, which I hate because we laugh and joke in there. And I can look back on that time, even though it was an hour, it's like a million hours. But when you waste time arguing, bickering, being negative, doing shit that doesn't matter, it's gone. You can't get it back, and all you do is live in regret. You take the time I just said, it lasts forever, and you've expanded time. So that's the most valuable thing, because it correlates into your family. It correlates into everything you do. But people don't understand time until it's too late, till it's gone. And you wake up in your 50 or your 60 and wishing that you did this or that, or you realize all the time you've wasted, but you have to say it out loud. You got to sit down and add up the minutes. I did that with Queenie. I said, you know how many, because we had a spell of arguing, which was genuinely my fault. But I said, you realize the amount of time we spent arguing this week that we could have been doing a million other things, but you have to say it out loud and put a balance sheet out for your time. So the time is everything, man. I know, because I lost 2 years of my life I can't get back, but I took a lot of value from it. I learned a lot from it, and I wouldn't be sitting here with you. I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't be doing any of this had it not happened. My destiny was going to be the same. I just had to take a different path and journey because I screwed up, but that's okay. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as it trained me, but now I have that value and I understand that's the biggest commodity we have.
Sure, absolutely. And I guess, with your health podcast, the whole idea is to create more time. Yeah. No doubt about it. Definitely don't need to persuade a lawyer that time is valuable. We can do this interview in 6-minute increments if you'd like.
I love you, dude.
You ever seen this chart? There's this chart that I've seen where it basically takes the average lifespan, like let's say 80 years, and they puts one dot for every month you have. Because people think of a month. Okay, it's a month. It's not. It doesn't look like that many dots. You're like, when you visualize it that way, you're like, wow, that goes fast, And, I tell this to my kids. I say, look, your only way you fail in life is if you don't try. And I also say a lot of times, and this is kind of related, the lawyer that often is the one that prevails is just the one that's most persistent. I mean, you got to know what you're doing. You got to be good. But the lawyer that is most persistent, who doesn't give up, right? Eventually, when you think about folks who keep trying, like, you don't have to be the best. And I often get, I don't want to get into this long example, but basically, if you've got 10 people, right? And anyway, it's a long example. I torture my kids with it. But the point is that persistence often ends up being who wins, even if they don't finish first. Because if you take the top 4 finishers, right, in this example, and the person who just never gives up and finishes fourth ends up winning if they never give up, even though they weren't the best, they weren't the one they could, right? Even though other people gave up first. Now, I think that kind of bleeds into this time notion, because when you think about time, to me, when you continue to do the same thing over and over again and it's repetitive, time bleeds away. I mean, think about it, especially when you get older. When you do something new, adventurous, novel, time kind of slows down, doesn't it?
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Especially when you get older. For kids, everything's new and novel, right? That's why time goes so slow in my view, because everything's new. It feels like in that moment just seems to last forever for like a 3-year-old. It's just like, whoa, right? Where you're like 60, and you're doing the same thing. It just feels like Groundhog's Day. That's why something new tends to make time seem a little slower. So I think that's what you like when those examples you just gave. And so, being I'm not saying like jump at. I'm not saying being like one of the paralegals of my firm, God bless him, who's, an amazing gentleman. He's jumping out of planes.
No.
Parachuting. I'm not saying necessarily do that, though. Mad respect to the dude who does that.
No, but you're right, though. Just going and doing some different things, different experiences while you're younger, while you're healthy, because it does go quick and you want to take advantage of anything that you could potentially do, especially something that brings some happiness and joy into your heart. And just it just makes every day more fun. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you just looking forward to something. You brought up something, persistency.
Yeah.
And I was looking into this. Actually, it's funny you say that, because today, if you look in my search engine, I said, is persistency a virtue? And of course, you get...
Matters what you're persistent about, maybe.
Well, it does. And you get these... And Reddit is a cesspool of dipshits that have no clue about anything. And that pops up and they're like, oh, no, it's terrible. But is it? Because without persistency, You wouldn't have the ability to get up when you're knocked down. Without persistency, you take no for an answer on everything. You miss 1,000% of the shots you don't take. Nobody's going to bat 1,000. Nobody. But how in the hell are you going to get anywhere if you're not persistent and you don't get back up when you get knocked down? People always used to ask me, how the hell do you get these people on your show when you haven't done any? How do you get these people to get on the phone with you and answer it? Because nobody can get them. They want thousands of dollars to talk to people. They're gate kept. I said, because I just keep going, because I don't know how to take no for an answer, because I don't stop. It's not like I'm paying anybody to talk to me. It's not like I'm doing some magic where I'm hypnotizing people to get on the phone with me. I just don't know when to stop, because when I want something, I know that I need to go and get it. It's not going to come and create itself. No one's going to come knock on my door and say, hey, brother, it's your time now. You have to go get it. You have to go take it. I can't stand several words, and one of those is called complacency. And people have it. Well, let's take, for instance, say you're a car salesman. You got a quota that you hit every month. Oh, I hit my quota. Now I can chill out. No. You hit your quota. Now you can make all your multiples. Now you go. You try to hit your quota the first week. So that's when you can really go. But people get complacent and they never get anywhere because of that satisfaction of, well, I did what I needed to do. No. That's when it starts. When you hit a goal, take a day or two to celebrate and then get hungry for more. What else can I do now? How can I move on? This is what you were talking about with time and doing the same thing over and over again. There's always a new challenge, man. You think Michael Jordan stayed the best because he stopped shooting?
Yeah.
Do you think when Tiger Woods was in his prime that he just, no, I'm not gonna go to the range today? They'd win every single day. They got better. They sharpened their skills. People that are highly knowledgeable, you think they don't read every day? I mean, that's where everything gets lost.
Yeah.
And people don't know that just because you do something great, well, what's next?
And it doesn't have to be something grand. It
No.
doesn't have to be like, oh, you're going to go rappel the Grand Canyon. It could literally be something like you are going to work out 30 minutes every morning, first thing. Get up, pray a little, and work out. Just do that. I mean, that's like, make that a goal. And when you do it every day, right, that's a mountain you're climbing.
Yes.
And you feel good about it, right? Something you're accomplishing is good for you. It's good overall. You're getting to the place in, health-wise you want to get. Like, it could be something like that. It doesn't need to be something wild. So absolutely.
I do, and I don't want anybody to mirror what I do because it's crazy. But I do, 85, 90 minutes of cardio.
Wait, this is your morning routine?
Well, I can walk you through the morning routine.
I want to hear that morning. Okay, but tell me what you're going to say. That the way, when I asked you how's your journey been, I didn't expect us to go through a whole lot of life lessons, but this has been fun so far.
Well, it's part of the journey.
Tell me about the cardio, and I do want to hear your morning routine.
So the cardio I do, 85, 90 minutes on the elliptical 5 days a week, and I feel even though I do it all the time, you get a sense of accomplishment. On my bad days, especially, it's like, man, I did something today. I wasn't feeling good. I feel good now because I accomplished something. You know what I mean? And that's like what you're saying. There's an accomplishment within every single day. It's just about how you address it. Now, I've really developed a morning routine now. And I say this, I'm not a morning person because I stay up late, but my mornings are blocked off until I get what I need to get done. And what does that mean? Every single morning when I get up, I read a morning reading, and then I say a prayer over my wife. Hopefully she's awake to hear it. Sometimes she's not. And I say the prayer over her, and then I get up, just brush your teeth and shower, but I'm saying prayers out loud while I do it.
What's the morning reading? What does that mean?
Like, so every single day, because I'm Catholic, there's like the morning reading. So like on the Catholic website, there's like the first reading in the gospel.
Got it. Okay, great. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I go sit outside with my cat outside, and we do another reading, and I post it every day online, and I put it in a story. It's in a little book that Queenie got me that is like something that takes a scripture and then it motivates you or inspires you.
Love that. Right. Something to nurture the soul.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm already well in tuned in my mind, no matter what email I see on there, what BS is probably coming my way. I don't even care. Then I go for the walk. So I do 45-minute walk.
Okay.
I don't say everybody has to do that. That's what I do. And that's another time where I get the call with my mom in, and then I have time to clear my head. And then I get home, then I start taking calls at work. But if I don't do that, it's like I schedule around that. That's
great.
coming first because I need the spiritual time. I need the time just to pray over her and to get a good sense of home and love in my heart and to get my soul correct.
So soul work first thing, prayer, thankfulness, exercise, and morning red light.
That's right. That's it. You got to get sunlight, get some sunlight in the morning. And then I'm in tune and I'm ready to go. Even when I haven't slept great or I don't feel like it that day. One of the things that I told myself, Aaron, is I used to have these moments where it's like, I don't feel like podcasting today, or I don't feel like driving here today. And then I asked myself, if you didn't have that, what would you be saying? If you didn't have all this going on, what if you had to go do something you hated or whatever? You're complaining about what you love to do because you're tired or you don't feel like it today? Or should you be saying, dude, look who I get to interview today. Man, guess what I get to learn today? Look I get to go do this today where somebody else is doing something they hate. I stopped doing that.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. I look at it as a point where, man, this is going to be my release today. I don't feel good today, so this is what I get to do today. I get to go do this. And it shows in my work. It shows during the interviews, and it shows, I think, with my attitude every day, who I'm around. And everybody's has bad days, but I think that I don't force anything anymore or try to. I think it just comes out because of the mindset that I've developed.
Well, if you ever want to have gratitude, we can just pretend like your wife's my client and you can come and sit down, depose you for 9 hours. And I assure you, you'll have a lot of gratitude after that.
I love it. I don't think I'd ever want to get deposed by you, my friend.
I have nothing to depose you over, but did you read your daily reading? Mr. Gemelli? What was that prayer you said over your wife?
I prefer to just watch you in action, my friend. No, it's great. It's good to be able to talk about this because I do like to let people inside what I do. Because everybody's got a little different way they start their day. And I it's taken me a while to find something that puts me more at peace, no matter what I have to do that day.
Is there anything else you do just in most days? Like, is there anything else that you have a routine doing almost every day?
My training and my working out, I'm a very regimented guy. I don't eat. I used to eat the same things at the same time every day. I tried to work my way out of that.
That was a thing.
Yes. But I do tell you this, like I take a lot of joy, actually. I don't eat out. I cook everything, but I actually, we have fun at home with it. We go shopping together and like have fun picking out food and everything. And I had an eating disorder most of my life and I've struggled 30 some odd years. And I've made it fun now to where we have fun with food. I get to enjoy it. I get to embrace it. And things that sound boring or trivial are like some of the most fun things I get to do now. I hate Costco. I freaking hate going there, but like somehow, some way, every time we go, I get to make fun of Queenie, how short she is behind the cart, or we have fun. I
was going to say it's because you're going with Queenie. It's going with your wife. If you were going alone, I suspect you wouldn't like it so much. They have Instacart, right?
Oh, I know.
And you could sit with Queenie on the sofa and like have fun picking things on Instacart.
It's because I like to pick the avocados out. I like to pick the berries out, or she does. Like I have to have my hands on everything and see it. I don't know, man. I like to do everything on my own so I know what's being done, or I trust her to do it, but I don't trust many.
Total tangent. Somebody was telling me the other day, maybe you know the answer to this, maybe not, that a lot of the food that's labeled organic, if it's not from the U.S., they were claiming it's just often not organic. I have no idea of the veracity of that claim. Do you know, by the way?
There's different standards, in different countries that are, How do we know what they're holding their standards to? How do we know, like, you're not testing it from coming in there?
I don't know. I guess I hadn't thought about it. I thought maybe the American importer would have some quality control. Whole Foods would care, natural grocers would care, Sprouts would care, but maybe not. I would be, I could definitely have some of my prior statements about corporate conduct thrown directly in my face.
I don't want to make assumptions.
I'm gonna research that. Maybe I'm gonna put that aside.
That's an off-camera topic we're gonna have to look into.
I'm gonna definitely
bring it back.
have to look. I mean, thought maybe you'd know that.
I always try to look at the good and everything, but I also am like a realist, and I don't do conspiracies. I don't do bullshit. I don't make things up. I don't fearmonger people, but I do know what I know.
Yeah, right. Whatever the evidence is, whatever the facts
and I'm telling you, I mean, anymore, it's like, dude, so many people have been caught lying or doing things like foul practice, putting things on labels, saying things are, their chickens are running around freely and they're not, or they're mistreating animals, or who knows what. It gets exposed constantly. So how do you know? How do you really, really, really know unless you've been to these farms or unless you've been there and seen what's being done? It requires a lot of trust. And when you see things happen over and over and over, it does jade you a little bit,
Well, if they're mislabeled, might be some good lawsuits there. So let's just put that one. I'll put that as I see then the market will correct for that issue, right? There's
100%.
a way to correct for that. I mean, that to me, that is actually kind of how do you know? You know, because if they're really engaged in bad conduct that way, it's imperfect, but but eventually they should be able to be held accountable.
100%.
So, and if that is happening, that's a hard issue close to Mark, because, but anyway, I'll put that aside. Gratitude. Absolutely. The fact that, that just reflects to me that you have a great relationship with your wife where you guys can just have fun going just to Costco together.
We do. I mean, stuff, like I said, that sounds trivial, that I would have thought was the lamest thing in the world. It's wild, man. And it's funny because she will take me up on anything just because if I say, let's do something, she's just all for it because, A, she wants to be around me, but B, it's like take advantage of the time, but we make it fun no matter what it is. And I'm spontaneous as can be. Like, I'm the guy that a car will show up and I'm like, hey, babe, there's a car coming, and she's just used to it now, and whatever. But we have fun, man. We go do fun things.
All right. That's beautiful. What is the most spontaneous, wild thing you've ever done? If you can share.
I think this is a good one. So I've had 107 cars total in my life. I've never owned a truck in my life.
That's an actual count?
That's an actual count. I have to count. And I can almost go back all the way to high school and start running down the line. There's some vagueness in there, cocaine days, that I can't remember everything. But
everybody's got that, don't worry.
Everybody, yeah. So I for some reason, like 2003 to 8, I misconstrued the years a lot. And
okay.
I have to be corrected. There's a lot of reasons why. But 107 cars, never had a truck, don't like big cars. And I go walk every morning. And I'm telling you, I don't know. I never even noticed a truck on the road. And I walked into the house from the walk and I said, hey. And she's like, yeah. I said, and I had a Corvette that I loved that she never thought I was going to sell. I said, hey, you want to do something cool today? And she's like, yeah. I said, you want to go drive some trucks? And she just like snapped her head at me because I hate, I don't like big cars. And she loves cars and trucks like that. Always wanted one. And I said, and I think I'm going to sell the Corvette too. And she knows what that means. Like if I make a deal, we're buying it like that. I get deals done in 20 minutes and we're out the door. If you go buy a car and whatever, I've done so many of them. It's like, boom. And sure enough, gone, truck, bought, like stuff like that I do. I've had Harleys just show up, shit shows up, not even telling her I was getting a motorcycle or whatever. Hey, we're going out of town tomorrow. Let's go. Because the opportunities come and you sit around and wait or whatever. If you have the ability to do it, right? If you could have seen her face on the truck thing, that was priceless. I'll never forget the look because it was such a shock. And especially because of the Corvette, because she thought I was never going to get rid of it. And I'm just like, whatever. Now I say I'll never not have a truck again. And out of all these years, never owned one. So, I mean, she's used to it by now. When I first met her, very first met her, I didn't have shit. Like, I lived in my parents' basement, had nothing because I was out of prison, man. Like, I had some money I had saved, a crappy Mustang I
How
bought.
long ago was this?
This was 2011 when I got out. 4th of July, 2011.
2011.
Yeah. So, and I had literally, I had a 5-year parole and I did one and got released. And that's when I started talking to her because I didn't want to talk to anybody on parole. Hey, I can't really go out today because I'm on parole, and I live in my mom's basement.
So are there restrictions on going out in the evening or? Okay. I don't know how this works.
And not to mention, I mean, I'm scared to do anything.
I don't do anything criminal law related. So
yeah, well, if you're on parole and the chances of you violating once and getting sent back to prison, you don't really want to do anything. So all I did was work and go to the beach because I got paroled to Maui from Iowa because my parents lived there. So
that's not a bad place to go.
No,
Okay.
no, not bad at all.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's what I did. And then when I got off parole, see, I used to go, she was a manager at Safeway, and I used to go in there every day to eat lunch or whatever and buy something healthy to eat. And so she'd see me in there and I saw her looking at me. She's dead giveaway. She's just very bad and poor at like hiding it, like really bad, super blatant. And as soon as I got off, I went in there and I had some flowers sent to her. I went to the florist. They said, send this girl over here some flowers and leave a note. And then she called me and that's how I met her. So within like, I don't know, a week or two, I told her, I said, hey, I'm going to look at a Mercedes because for me, it was a used Mercedes, but it was a big deal to get into something. I earned a bunch of money selling cell phones. And I called her in like 30 minutes. I was like, hey, I got the car. And she's just like, what? And showed up with it. And that's just how I've always ran, and the whole time. But that's how I met her, just going into the grocery store, just off parole, starting from scratch. And she loved me when I had nothing. And I mean nothing. And we just grew.
You didn't even have your evenings.
No, I didn't at all. And we grew together from literally the bottom and, have just built everything together the whole way through. And I understand now some of the opposites that we have, why it's important. And some of the stuff that I used to get upset with her about, just like with my mom and dad, all the lectures and stuff and the lessons that I value so much now. Well, it took me a while with her to value some of the things that I understand are so important she brings to me that used to piss me off and now make me so happy because I understand the protection and I get overzealous. Like, and I get into going too much, too hard, and I miss some things and I don't have to anymore. So it's like this team effort build. And I wish everybody could find that, because there's somebody there to do that. But too many people make irrational decisions, get angry, do things, and don't realize when you say marriage is work, is it? I mean, is it really, or is it experience and learning? There's some work involved, compromise for sure, and changes that you may have to do, but you still need to be the same person. So yeah, there's a little bit of work there, but a lot of it's more growth. A lot of it's more trial and error, understanding, learning, compromising. It's not, people, when they say that it's work, they act like it's this, oh my gosh, it's the hardest thing in the world. No, there's things there that there's problems and there's things that you have to work together on. But I remember at my wedding when I said, some people say that your life's over when you get married. And I'm like, man, mine just started.
I think that, when you hang out with enough married men, you see how some talk about their wives and how others do. And I think you can very quickly see who's found their soulmate. Yeah. And where in some situations it doesn't appear to be that way. Let's just put it that way. And there's degrees, I guess, but often not so much in my experience. I feel like you have the men who are just like talk about how much they love their wives. There's like, and then others who either don't or there's not, they don't say that, or maybe they say
It
things
seems
that
like they're in
are,
prison. It does, like
it's
some of those
not, it
guys.
doesn't seem positive, and it's not, that's an unfortunate thing. When you found your soulmate, I feel like you know it. I feel like folks know it pretty early, very, very early on. I mean, I knew it from day one, basically. You just kind of know. I think when there's that like soul connection.
There's a difference between like that puppy excite love and then like a different connection. You know what I mean? Like when you're in high school or you get, something and it's like that instant thing, but it kind of goes away real quick. There's something different about the way it feels. And then there's more of this like comfort that you feel with somebody that's different. It's this really strong comfort, and it's a different kind of excitement.
Here, for anybody who's out there, I would say that the moment you know it, I think one of the moments is when you're alone in a hotel room somewhere, traveling for work, and you lay down in that bed, and it just feels like half of you's missing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas some people are like, I could use a break. That's a very different experience.
No.
People have, I'm not saying that that's always the case, but I'm generalizing.
When I need a break, it's a walk. You know what I mean? Like I need alone time. It's not like I need a break for fucking days or nights. I just need alone time. It's not really a break from her. It's just everybody needs a little alone time.
Well, I think you captured it well. If going to Costco is a fun, loving, joyful experience just because you're doing it with your wife,
yeah,
I think that speaks volumes to your relationship.
Yeah, because I hate Costco,
and that's. I mean, I don't know how you do it. I can't. I don't know. By the way, I don't know how you get a car. That's why. Well, first of all, I love the Teslas. I just love. Yeah. Oh yeah. They're just. I know. Put aside EMFs and all that stuff. Though I will say, if you take it off of self-driving mode, the EMF exposure level does go down. We've tested this.
I love it.
Let's put that aside.
Love it.
But the great thing is just order the car online.
Yeah.
That's it. I can't do. In fact, the last time I walked into a dealership that I was thinking of getting a car, I couldn't do it. I can't do it. It's just like to sit down and like do the paperwork.
No,
online. Done.
You don't do any of that when I do it. It's done when you walk in, my friend.
Well, you got special.
That's one of those things. Look, my uncle was like the king of car sales and sales in general, like the king that you've ever seen in your life. And I learned some things from him, but developed into my own. So it's like,
Well, you got 107 cars under your belt, so you've definitely got something figured out.
I enjoy
You don't like Teslas?
I've never had one.
You never driven Tesla?
No, I haven't. I haven't ever wanted the electric car, but I also, it's not, I don't.
Oh, all right. So I drove, I've never driven. My wife wanted one. She got a Tesla, and I was like, there's a Tesla thing, whatever, electric car. And then after I drove her, she was away for a week. My car was in the shop. I drove for a week. I was like, whoa.
Really?
I cannot drive, for me at least, a non-Tesla car. I've got, non-electric car. Just when you're a kid and you play with those electric cars and it just goes, boom. That's what it's like. There's no delay. It's just like, boom, boom. Especially if you get the plaid.
Yeah.
Oh, you better put your, I'm not kidding. You better put your neck back on the seat when you hit that pedal, because otherwise you're getting whiplash. And they corner incredibly, even though they weigh like numerous times what a regular car weighs.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're amazing. Yeah.
I haven't even driven one, which is shocking considering I've driven everything, but I haven't.
My Tesla Massage, no. But I mean, it's a fun car to drive too. Elon did it right on that one. I'll give him a lot of credit for that one for sure.
I tell you what, the truck I bought is it's like a luxury sedan inside. It's a Dodge Ram. It's the decked out one, and I really decked it out.
It's like a pickup truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got massagers, and I would have never.
Did you ever put anything in the bed?
No. It's not. When I bought us bikes, I put them back there to bring them home. I rarely. It's more for my fun.
Okay.
I'm not a hauling truck dude. Like, you look at me like that's not my style. But man, it's fun. And it's nice to feel like you're dominant on the road, because all those times in the Corvette, I got all these punk asses that want to pull up next to me and challenge me. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And you're such a small car. It doesn't feel as safe when you're in the truck. It's like, move out the way. It's a cool feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I used to drive before my Tesla Lincoln Navigator, and it's that same feeling. You just like, you feel like, the guy, you pull up somebody in a Lamborghini, head to head, you're going right over it.
Exactly.
I mean, or a Corvette, you're just kind of,
I got
bye-bye.
I've had a Navigator. I know the feeling.
Yeah. I love that. That car's great. It's a great car.
It's a great car.
It's a great car too.
It is.
So
I've had everything, dude. Like everything. I've had one of everything. It's only now it would be like scaling up to exotics, which I don't know that there's a point in spending that kind of money on a car. At this point, I have a much higher value on money. But if it wasn't an issue, I would want a McLaren.
It wouldn't be an issue on safety?
No, just an issue on I don't want to overspend money on something I don't need.
Yeah.
If it was like, here's a big box of Monopoly money and it's going to buy you a car, I'd want a Rolls Royce Phantom and a McLaren would be the two cars I want.
So anybody listening to you for the last hour and listening to your show, millions of people who listen to you, probably ask themselves, how does a dude who's articulate, smart, thoughtful, how'd you end up in prison? Like, I mean, that's probably, I bet that's a question. That's a question I've got popping in my head.
Of course. Well, I'll take you back. So I was a college basketball player. I was a 4-sport athlete in high school, just obsessed. Like, whole life was based around sports. My dad started training me when I was 3. I got pictures of like working out with Hulk Hogan equipment and gear, like the whole shebang. He started training me for baseball. My dad was a college basketball player. And I got hurt in college twice. And then I was kind of at this moment where I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm even doing here. Like, I'm not going to the NBA. Like, what am I doing? And I keep getting hurt. I don't want to rehab anymore. It sucks. And, I'm in that kind of party phase. And my mom was always pushing me to go be a model and do it. And I was like, man, it's too feminine for me. I don't want to do this. But I loved clothes, like high fashion clothes. And then I was like looking into it more. I was like, man, like everybody's going to look at me like I'm the man, and that's what I want. And so I said, all right, screw it. I'll go to the little thing you want me to go to when they're coming to find talent and all this. And I got picked in that group, which then put me in this training session for like 6 months. They take a bunch of money from you and teach you how to walk, teach you how to act, all this. And then they take you to this big event when they show you, it's IMTA. All these stars got found here. At that time, it was like, I remember the big thing was Ashton Kutcher got found here. Katie Holmes got found here. And I was in that state where I was partying all the time. So I was showing up late or not showing up at all to all the trainings, not taking it serious and misspending my parents' money. And then I get there and there's like 30, 40,000 people in this auditorium. And I'm just going, man, what the hell am I even doing here? But the old like Dylan in me from sports kicked in where I was like, okay, I'm going to take this as serious as I can be. I was up at 5 a.m. every morning. I was the first one up, ready to go. And I ended up it was 5th place, was called 4th runner up in the whole thing. Signed a contract to go to Milan, which is like going from the minor league straight to the pro, like, or high school straight to the pro. I mean, like no in between. I did a couple things in Chicago, went right out there. Quickly realized you're amongst 200 of the best male models in the world and you're nothing. And then I came home, I started getting auditions though, because people were picking up that I was in Italy. I was auditioning for like Days of Our Lives, soap operas, but I couldn't keep up, man. I was spending 20 times more than I was making. And I wanted to be the man more than anything. I just wanted to be the man. So I was around parties, drugs. So I started to sell drugs because I thought in my head, no one's going to think I'm selling drugs. Look at me. I'm a pretty boy and I'm doing all this. There's no way. And I had a sweet setup where no one would ever find out. Well, guess what? There's no longevity in that career, right? So eventually I got caught. I got a 15-year prison sentence, quite a big, significant amount of drugs. I got a suspended sentence, which you know what that means, but some people may not, meaning I got convicted of the felonies, but they suspend the sentence, meaning they put me on probation And if you screw up, they can impose the sentence. I drained my parents' bank account, got the best attorney in the state of Iowa, who, because it was my first offense, worked out a sweet deal for me. And what do you think? Within 2 weeks, I went out of the state without permission. First violation. I was like terrified. 2 weeks in jail. You better not do it again. Year on probation. What do you think happens? Well, I got pulled over. I got followed home. I went to freaking Dairy Queen. I got followed home, pulled over right outside my apartment. And I had this dull switchblade that I had bought from a flea market. But because it had a switch on it, it was illegal.
Yep.
Even though it was like this big and wouldn't have cut your fingernails, it didn't matter. So then I went back. They put me in jail county jail for 120 some odd days, and then gave me 2 more years of probation. And I had a freaking meltdown. Then I didn't care about shit. I was on the next plane when I got out to California, going to a farm, having weed shipped right back into Iowa because I didn't care. And I just wanted to make a bunch of money and buy myself out of this and move out of the state and transfer probation. Well, I got in trouble for something so minor. If you have any interaction with a cop, you're going, that's it. Third violation. You don't get it. 15 years. Goodbye. 15 years. And I was 28. The thing is, in Iowa, I had a 10-year and a 5-year that were ran consecutively, which ain't great because that means you get 15. Concurrently, they would have ran together. So the beauty is, I guess the beauty, the thing that saved me was I had a mandatory minimum on my 10-year, which meant that the parole board had to see me. Otherwise, I would have been screwed because they really didn't have to docket me to go see him. Well, then secondly, in Iowa, when you get a sentence, everything gets cut in half. You get day and a half per day. And then when I was in prison, the counselor saw me. I was the most hardcore workout, like so regimented every single day. And his nephew was in the NFL. So he went to bat for me, got me into the drug treatment early. And then my parents knew somebody on the parole board that they were just begging to just do whatever you can. So that 15 years, I ended up only doing a total of 2.
Wow.
Because the mandatory minimum got cut in half. And you know what else is crazy, Aaron? And you know how this works. You know, you get put on the list. You have to go in front of the parole board and plead your case. Everybody had to do it. I got granted parole. Didn't even have to see anybody.
You never even went before the board?
Never. I just got it granted. I'm getting chills. Look at my arms. And I got released on the 4th of July, which they said was, and when my mom called me and told me that, I went and told everybody in there and they said, oh, that's not possible. No one's ever gotten out on that day.
From that moment forward, you should have had gratitude without anything else.
Oh my goodness, did I have gratitude? I still have gratitude. So then I had the 5 years of parole and I was in Iowa and I got transferred to Maui because my parents lived there. And that was a joke. I mean, the guy was like, why did you get in trouble and whatever? I had to ask him to drug test me after 6 months because I was like, man, if you don't do this, I'm not going to get out early. So he went to bat for me. 1 year of parole, got out. So that whole 15-year ordeal, if you add the parole and everything, it was a little over 3 years of what I went through. But you got to remember, man, I went from this extravagant lifestyle to when I actually got to the first prison, it was called 23-1. And that means 23 hours in your bunk and 1 hour out, which was really 23 and a half. And I got to shower 3 days a week, 5 minutes. That's all you get. 3 days. And the size of the cell was like this table, cut it in half, wall to wall. And the mats were like this thick and it was like sleeping on cement. All I did was lay there on my back. And guess what? You got breakfast at 6. I remember the times. 6:30 a.m. Lunch was at 10:45 and dinner was at 3:30. And you just laid there hungry and wondering what happened.
This almost sounds like solitary.
Basically.
Well, why? I mean, why would they put you in what sounds like basically a maximum security setting?
Classification, first 2 weeks, everybody has to do it. And guess what? The library, the newest book I could find was like 1902. I was reading a book about Christopher Columbus I remember the date. It was written in 1876. And I read the whole book.
It sounds like they have a bunch of collectors.
I made friends with one of the guards, and he came and slipped me the sports section a couple times under my door. That was in that moment. So you imagine the humbling experiences that I had to go through. I mean, that's just a fraction of it. The stories I could tell you about that are endless, and people would probably be curious, but then be like, man, I needed it. I got what I deserved. I wouldn't take it back. I don't recommend going to prison to learn your lessons, but I needed it. And I'm not happy for the things I did, but I'm happy for the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if anybody thinks that's a way to get gratitude, just have your spouse lock you in your basement for a month or something and feed you food under the door.
You can only imagine. And you know what? With prison, it's not even, it's the circumstances bad enough, but it's the people you have to be around all day, every day. I remember, because in Iowa was freezing in the winter, and there was like, I don't know what it was, but somehow there was like a crack in my wall. And so the cold air would come through the wall. And I remember I was like trying to sleep one night, and I saw this thing run by, and it was a freaking rat on the floor. And I was like, oh man. And I was just telling myself, like, you got to be accountable, dude. Like, you have to be accountable, and you have to realize you did this. These people always say, oh, you overcame prison. I'm like, man, how? I caused it. It's not like somebody that overcame cancer or overcame, some sort of natural disaster. I came up from it. I picked myself up from it, but overcoming it, I don't know if you should say that or not. You act like I made some massive accomplishment. But I learned from it.
Well, yeah, you definitely found your calling, I think, in doing what you do today, which is, cover health topics, get it out to the world, so people can judge it for themselves, so they can have more time.
That's right.
That's it. That's a beautiful thing. And what's going to teach you to appreciate and the value of time more than spending it 23 and a half hours a day alone by yourself in a cell?
Wasn't alone. There was a psycho underneath me. I was in a cell with a guy that was in there for murder for like 3.5 weeks. Seriously, sleeping right under me. And I was like, okay, well, okay. What
upset this guy.
Yeah. What do you think? The thing is, when you're in there, somebody like that, they don't want to cause problems because they have certain, things that they have, and they don't want to lose it because it's all they have. So they have perks or things going for them. They certainly don't want to jeopardize it. But I tried to make friends with the right people.
Yeah. Did that work out?
It went well for me.
Did?
Well, I'll tell you why. When I got there, when I first got to the actual prison that I was at, right when I walked outside, the first thing I saw was a dude walking around with a big swastika tattooed on his chest. And I was like, okay. Deep breath, Dylan. I went straight to the basketball court. And right at that time, all I had were steel toe boots, jeans, and the t-shirt, because I hadn't had a chance to buy anything or do anything. That's what you got when you checked in. That's it. No shoes, no shorts, no nothing. And I went straight to the basketball court and waited till I could get game. And I went out there and just balled out in that outfit. And that got me respect immediately. And that made me friends right off the bat. So that's what I did. And then it was, people saw me training, and they wanted to talk to me about what I was doing. How was I doing this? And I made friends very quickly because I was a freaking animal, like the way I was training. Just an absolute animal, because I had just gotten done doing all of that, on the outside. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be in here, I'm going to utilize it the best I can, which was reading the Bible and working myself, pushing myself. How far can you go? Maybe too far. But what else was I going to do? Get my head right. So the working out helped me get my head right. Then when I got out, I just immediately started to study hormones and health and fitness. And then it just kind of just led me down the path of getting to where I am.
And here you are. And that's a great story. That's inspiring.
I hope, because I want it to. I don't ever want it to look like, A, you should ever feel sorry for yourself. B, because you do something wrong, you can't recover. And C, it can shape you, and it can help you, and it can create who you can become. It's not who you are then, it's what it made you become after. And that's what I use it for. And I think it's helped me become who I am now.
No, I love that. That's great. I appreciate you sharing. I know that's probably not the you brought up the prison, so I figured we'd go down the road. But uh, like you said, every experience leads up to who you are and teaches you something important. And there's no doubt, like you said, you may never end up doing what you're doing, met the wife, and because you wouldn't end up in Maui, you might be still doing cocaine on a runway, back on a runway somewhere. Who knows? Doing like, whatever it is you're doing.
Exactly.
So, that's another thing too, is taking every adversity with, and finding the positive in it. I've heard somebody tell me once that when you go up after you die and God willing, you go to heaven, your whole life gets shown to you, and everything that you thought was for the bad, you will say, "Oh, that was for the good," even though you didn't realize it while you were alive, and you will understand why every adversity actually was for the good. It was for the positive. You just don't know it now. Now, I obviously I've never been there. I've been back. Don't know, but it's a great way to look at life for sure, and find a way to, find positive in everything.
One of the keys that I started there that I've really tried to pride myself on is accountability. And one of the things that bothers me the most about things I see is a lack thereof, where everybody has a built-in excuse for something they're inadequate at or something they failed at or they didn't get their way or go their way. And granted, and when I say politics, I mean politics and things that go on. Like if you don't know the right person, you may get passed up, or somebody may get something for whatever the reason. It's going to happen. It's called life. But to always have excuses and blame it on everybody else, that's fuel, man. That's a reason to go harder. That's a reason to ask yourself, what am I missing? What did I not do to earn me what I got? See, I spent years telling myself, your people are just not giving you your due, Dylan, because you're so good at this. Why are you not accelerating? Why are you not getting it where to be? Maybe it's because I was selfish. Maybe because I was a prick, and didn't see it. And maybe it's because I wasn't ready and I thought I was. But everybody now, it's their gender, it's their race, it's something built in. And the problem is you become reliant upon that. And then you never take any sort of understanding or accountability that you have to work at this. That's not the real world. That's a world that got created and put onto everybody to cause whatever we can. That's a different topic. That's not reality. Some people are shitty. They operate that way, and they are, they do have that hate in their heart for people. That's not reality of most. Most people don't see that. And it disgusts me that people have that now built in to fall back on, because you'll never make it. I know the things I did wrong. I know why it happened. And I know that it was only my fault. And I know how to fix it.
Well, I would say that recognizing that success, happiness, go down the list, comes from you.
Yeah.
Blaming other people for stuff is never going to get anybody anywhere. Don't even get me started with some of the identity stuff you just talked about, where everybody's blaming everybody. It's corrupting, and it's really unfortunate, because it's creating a lot of negativity and division in our culture, in our country, and I hope we can move past that. But the realizing everybody's got a different bag. I mean, I'd like your head of hair. I don't have it. It's just how it goes. Somebody's short, somebody's tall, somebody has a fast metabolism, somebody's short. I mean, like everybody, somebody just has more natural ability to do complex mathematics. Some people don't. Some people can do quantum physics and whatever. Some people can. Some people are really emotionally intelligent. Some aren't. Focus on what the skills you have, whatever those might be. Focus on what you have and compete against yourself. Like you said, that's who you should be competing against. You shouldn't be looking at others. And then you can find a way to, find fulfillment, happiness, and whatever it is you do. But blaming others, it is a recipe to nowhere. It will never get you anywhere to blame others. It's unfortunate, because you see it now. I mean, I was actually talking about this the other day, that, at least we're around the same age. I'm a little older than you. But I think you tell me if this is a different experience than I had growing up. But I remember as a kid always being told, you should never look at people based on their color, their race, any of that stuff. Like you judge each person by the person. Like this, the skin color doesn't matter. Those things don't matter, right? The sex doesn't matter. They're a man, they're a woman, you're black or white. It doesn't matter if you're black, right? Right? I mean, that was the song of the day,
dude.
That was the song of the day. Whereas, I mean, was that your experience growing up?
My mom was you better treat everybody the damn same.
Exactly.
And I mean, she beat that into my head.
And the point was not to see those differences where all of a sudden, not only are you supposed to like see those differences, you're supposed to use that as a way to find value. It's like it's supposed to be a basis for, why it is you may have issues and why, and I guess it's positive. Like you're supposed to draw value from it, which is fine if you want to, but it's not it doesn't. I don't see a lot of value. Not in this country, not in America. The whole point was to like a meritocracy.
Yeah.
You succeed on your merits, not based on some immutable characteristics.
Well, and there's different types of relationships, Aaron. There's business relationships, there's friend relationships, there's family relationships. Shit, half the time your family's the worst, the worst ones to be around. But there's different types of relationships. Some people I can't work with that are like my best friends, but I'd never work with them, and vice versa. Some people I'd work with, and it's like we have a really good working relationship, but we're not kicking it. Like that's life. There's different personalities. Some are for some and some are not. It's just like this. It's like, okay, this is one of the examples I use. So I love ice cream, right? And I go into Baskin Robbins and there's 31 flavors and there's 2 that I don't like. Does that mean now I'm racist against ice cream? Or maybe I just don't like the flavor. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like all ice cream. It's just perfectly fine.
Yeah.
There's some behaviors I don't really like. And it's like I quit drinking. And some of my closest friends drink, and when they're drunk, I don't want to be around them because I don't like the behavior. Doesn't mean I don't like them. It means I don't like the behavior.
Yeah.
So people, and look, even people that say stuff that's messed up, because there are people that do that. In reality, who cares? Did that really change your life in any way? A word. Now, something physical, sure. If you say, I don't care what you say to me, I don't give a shit because it doesn't affect me. If I let that affect me and ruin my whole day because you said something about me, I mean, come on. Like, there's no reason or point. There's none. Because let me ask you this. What does, like, getting angry about something fix? What does even people that get overly stressed or like overly emotional, what did that fix? How did that fix anything? It doesn't. It hurts you more. And if you physically go beat somebody up or do something to them, what does that do? Because they're going to recover from that, but you're not when you get in trouble. You're going to recover from an assault charge on you or possibly hurting somebody and really, really screwing your life up? Or do you just say, well, whatever, screw you? Like, I don't care about anything anybody says. I really don't, because it doesn't, at the end of the day, and I've heard it all over the years on social media stuff. And I used to get mad. And I realized, man, if I'm waking up in the morning and it's bothering me what somebody said.
Once you put yourself out there, you can't let that stuff bother you.
Nothing bothers me.
Listen, not everybody can be as lucky as me. All people ever write about me online is all positive, all loving. It's all just flowers and roses.
It's just...
Hey, look, if when you're getting pushback, that means you're pushing buttons. And when you get somebody who's clearly having an emotional reaction rather than a logical reaction, my often thought process as well, must mean I'm right, because if all you have to my substantive argument is ad hominem, that means you can't address the substance, and that's fine. And that's and their biggest punishment for folks who live in that headspace is they have to be them. Somebody who's, I tell my kids, I said, look, somebody who lies, I said, their punishment in life is they think everybody lies to them. Yeah. they walk through life not trusting anything. And somebody who cheats, they think everybody's cheating them or steals everything, stealing from them. Like that's their punishment. That is their, it's just, you don't have to do anything to them. Just be happy. You're not them. That's it.
I always said the biggest accusers are the biggest perpetrators. You know what I mean? Because the people that accuse the most are the ones that are actually doing it. So the guy that's always trying to control the girl that's always accusing her of cheating on her is probably the guy that's actually doing the cheating, because he knows what it is and sees and knows.
Right. Okay. Now I understand what you meant by that. Yeah. In that kind. Right. But he lives. That is his punishment in many ways, because he now has to live with that in his head.
That's what I'm saying.
He'll never have that peace of mind.
No, and that's why they're always accusing and always so protective, because they're the ones doing it. Seriously, I've seen it a million times, man. Like I've seen it all, and that's the people that do that, and the people that push the hardest are the ones that have to always say, "I'm a good person. Oh, I did this or I did that," because they know that they're really not. I don't have to tell you I'm a good person. I don't have to tell you about all the shit I do. You see it.
Yeah, that's it's an easier lesson to say than to learn, because when somebody wrongs you, people have some natural reactions, and they want to, attack back. But I even say this to clients sometimes, not talking about any specific client. I say, look, it's not worth bringing that defamation to you. I say, just putting aside, you might bring more attention to it. I said, but just be thankful you're not that person. Exactly. I said, like people see who they are.
Yeah, I know.
It's not lost on people. Like there's no, you want to stay away from bad people. You don't want to get more entangled with them for the most part, unless you have to. I mean, that's part of it. And if you do, it's nice that to put a layer between you and them, like use a lawyer or whatever. Sometimes there's value in that. I'm not
one thing that I have done, and it's like man in the mirror, is actually ghost. And this is not psycho stuff. This is a real conversation where you have to go one-on-one with yourself, because it's really hard to lie to yourself unless that's just you've convinced yourself so much of a lie. And I've had to look in the mirror and ask myself questions to figure out what I was doing wrong. And like, what are you exactly doing here? What's your purpose? What's your point? And said out loud to myself something like somebody may have critiqued or said, or something I know I'm doing wrong or feel like I'm doing wrong. What am I doing here? And sometimes you have to address yourself and be honest with yourself, and you can get some of your best answers that way.
One of the ways that I think sometimes helps attain that introspection, because it's hard. It's hard to say, "Oh, I'm this," or it's hard to do it. Is and this is not always true, but when you find something that somebody does annoys you, and you're not sure why, it could be because you do that. It's because you do that. And when it's like you're reflecting it back on yourself. It's not always true, but I have seen that, and I've watched for that with other people. They're irritated by that doing, but they do that, and that and there's a little bit of psychology with that. It's not universal, so that is one way to pick it up. But absolutely, it's hard to have that self-introspection, but that is often why having people who really love you and are honest with you can be good if you listen to them. You got to listen to them, even and if you're getting upset, that's the most important time to listen, because that might mean either they're wrong, which if they love you and they're coming to you in a loving way, they're not just trying to be mean. So there's probably something there, and it's hard to hear. It's a harder thing to hear. Everybody's got that, but that's where you can help, get into a better place. Best to get that advice while you're in Costco, because then you can't start throwing things as readily, right?
I say this often. My college basketball coach told us one time at practice, he said, if I'm not jumping on you or if I'm not all over you, it means I don't notice you and I don't really care. You're not, what you have is not important to me. My wife will tell you, and I live by this. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Because if I tell you what you want to hear, I don't care.
It's an important thing to learn to be able to do that. I mean, I'll put in the world of lawyering. I mean, the lawyers who can't take There's there is no legal brief. There's no legal argument. There's nothing that is not better by collaborating with good lawyers. Okay. So everything we do at our firm is often a collaboration. And if you're not the type of lawyer that can take that constructive feedback and learn from it, then that's not going to work out. You're not going to survive. I mean, even I still, I did a trial not a few months ago. You know, my one of my kids said to me the other day, "Is like, Dad, I thought weren't you a real lawyer once?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, you used to go to court like every day. Now you go to court, every few weeks. I'm like, thanks, appreciate that. Anyway, I'm still go to court now. I just have to go in person as much because a lot of things are remote. Anyway, the point is that even to today, I mean, when I do a legal brief, I send it to the lawyers. It's always can be improved. I mean, I get on calls to brainstorm ideas with the other lawyers at my firm because there's even if we end up with the same idea I started with, and that's not always the case. Sometimes we end up with a better idea. At least I battle tested it, right? I A/B'd it. I red teamed it. That's a great thing to be able to do, and you have to have the ability to take that on, to take criticism in that way and understand it's constructive. And grow from it. So that's good.
I want it, man. I embrace it. I mean, did Tiger Woods have a caddy? Did Muhammad Ali have a trainer? Did Michael Jordan have a coach? Yeah. And I guarantee it wasn't rainbows and unicorns every day. I'm sure that they were being told quite often what they were doing wrong, and that's how they got great.
Absolutely.
And I tell everybody around me, if I'm off, if I'm talking too much, if I look bad, tell me, because I'm going to be mad if you don't, not if you do.
All right. I'm going to have to call this like the Inspire episode. I didn't know what we were going to talk about. I didn't know where we were going to go.
It's the point.
And I love it. That was,
that's why I told you beforehand.
That was great.
It goes where it goes, my friend.
It goes where it goes.
Yeah.
So I love that. I'll, on the listening piece, by the way, that actually, a lot of people talk about what's the best quality of a lawyer, and especially young people who are like, I want to go to law school, be a lawyer. I go, okay, great. I said, I always say to them, what's the best quality of what's the most important thing a lawyer needs to be able to do? And they're like, argue. I get all kinds of things. And I say, no, it's listening. I said, it's listening, it's an important lesson in that arena and in life too. And I think that's,
I think it's the key to every relationship. If you don't have good communication and you can't listen, it's just like if you can't listen in prayer, you can't listen to your loved ones, your wife, or your people that you work with. For me, the interviews, for you, the clients. I mean, what's the point? The whole basis of life and communication is an interaction, and it requires a hell of a lot of listening so that we can learn about each other.
All right. Well, to turn to something a little lighter, I'm going to connect listening with time. And all of that together, I'll tell you a joke. All right, which is it was a lawyer and a doctor sitting in church. Okay,
and that's funny.
The whole time they're in church, everybody's coming up to the doctor and asking him for like, I got a pimple here, I got this thing here, right? Like ask him all this question, right? Like lawyers like. And finally, the doctor turns to the lawyer and says, I don't understand. Like all service is long. I can't get these folks to leave me alone. Nobody asked you a legal question. He said, it's simple. He goes, I used to get that. He said, it was no problem. I gave them advice. And the moment I got home, I just sent them a bill. Right? The doctor's like, that's brilliant. Doctor gets home, tells his wife the whole story. The wife's opening the mail. She goes, hey, by the way, the lawyer sent you a bill.
Oh, I love it. And it's true. It makes sense.
A lawyer might do that.
I've seen some of those bills. I've had them before. Or I guess I saw the summaries my parents got. So
yeah. So
I love it, man.
Anything inspiring you want to share, or anything else you want to put out there?
It always reverts back to this. You can't understand real success without some sort of failure. And I always tell people, some of the best teachers have made the most mistakes. We just don't keep making them over and over again. I'm a good teacher, I feel, because I've made a lot of mistakes and I've learned from them, and I've learned the answers to them or how to correct them, and I've been accountable in which I've made. And because of that, it's given me a good ability to convey messaging to people. But one of the other things that I do want to stress to people that have the ability to to get audiences and to listen to them is stop lecturing and start talking. Talk to people, resonate with people so that they can listen. Because you lose people when you become a lecturer and you become somebody that acts like they're above everybody. I'm a normal dude. I've made a million mistakes, but I got a lot of experience that I can share with people and I can enlighten people on. Yes, I have a lot of book smarts and knowledge, but I feel like that my specialty is the wisdom. And if anybody doesn't understand the difference, knowledge is one thing, but wisdom is the ability to use that knowledge in the right way and to convey a message. And that's where I think for me personally is I've spent a lot of time through my prayer to understand what that meant and then to utilize that and extrapolate it to people to connect with them, to really connect with people and let everybody know that we're all the same. We're just good at different stuff. I'm good at conveying messages and talking to people and hopefully bringing people together. But there's a lot of things I'm not good at that I have to learn from others. And together, when we do it together, that's when everything in this world becomes great because people work together to make it that way. So that's what I'm trying to do in total is make that kind of a difference.
Well, Dylan, thanks for coming on and sharing your story. I appreciate it. It was great to hear it. I mean, I love watching your stuff. And so getting to actually get a little peek behind the curtain has been interesting for me. And I think a lot of people like to hear it too.
Dude, the conversations with you are always my favorite, man. So anytime.
Well, everybody I think already knows where to find you. Yeah. They can find you everywhere. And I'm sure we'll do this again soon.
Absolutely, brother.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.